Story 1. You are doing something in a field you hate and don't want to do. Life is too short and the workday is too long. Story 2. The better question is which jobs require a degree. Engineering, medicine, law, and most scientific fields require specific levels of understanding and formal qualifications. In fields such as marketing or sales, you can often enter with any degree, but having a degree is still important. Story 3. For-profit colleges. Liberal arts and social science degrees teach you how to write, understand ideas, relate to other people, and learn new information quickly. Arts degrees teach you how to appeal to an audience, organize groups of different personalities, and communicate meaning in various ways. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics degrees teach specific technical skills, attention to detail, logical thinking, and how disparate parts fit together. I'm in my 30s, and very few people I know did exactly what their degree described, but everyone uses their degree somehow, whether it came from a private or state college, a community college, an associate's program, or doctoral study. There is also a widespread myth that you must follow a single career path for your whole life based on your degree. Some people do that, but many do not. Story 4. The one you chose only because your parents told you to. Story 5. I was going to go into graphic design 10 years ago, and I am glad I did not. Artificial intelligence is ruining that line of work, and all my former colleagues are struggling. Story 6. It depends on what you hope to get from it. If you view college simply as job training, many degrees may not be a good investment. If you are interested in learning and can afford it, anything that interests you is worthwhile. Story 7. Degrees from disreputable institutions are problematic. Even the fanciest sounding degrees in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, in law, or in medicine will look clownish if they are from Trump University. Do not waste your money on for-profit degree mills. You will not receive a good education, which is the more important issue, and you will not obtain a respected credential for your resume. Story 8. Years ago, I was planning to attend college to pursue a career in video games. My parents told me I was wasting my time and that I should get a job with my father instead. A friend of mine pursued a career in video games. I listened to my parents, and he listened to his heart. 20 years later, he is extremely happy with his life. He makes enough to support his wife and 5 children. I ended up changing careers, and my father's former job no longer exists. The point is this: if your heart tells you to chase a dream you are passionate about, kids, chase that dream. Do not live a life based on what-ifs. Live a life based on yes. Story 9. Any college degree can be good as long as you do not spend a fortune on it. Story 10. None of them is a complete waste. Just earning a college degree demonstrates that you can learn, complete tasks, and solve problems. These skills are in demand by many employers. You might not find a job in a field directly related to your degree, but having a degree still gives you an advantage over someone without one. Story 11. Having a bachelor's degree in any field is enough to qualify you for many jobs. Story 12. None of them. There is not a single degree out there where someone did not get some value from it to make it only a 95% waste of money. Story 13. A college degree is not, in most cases, a list of things you know. It is a certificate of maturity. It tells the world that you have a baseline of discipline, organizational skills, and the ability to accomplish a wide variety of tasks, including many you did not want to undertake. Story 14. No degree is worthless. You just have to figure out how to use it. Story 15. I think most business degrees are nonsense except that they help you get a first job. 90% of what you need is common sense and social intelligence, or is learned after school. Story 16. My cousin spent a boatload on a theater degree. I never understood it. Story 17. Biology. It is academically rigorous and has some well-paid fields, but for the most part you would be better off with something else. Any leadership position in research and development normally requires a doctor of philosophy. Yes, in a sense all education has value, but in terms of being able to support a family, it is not really a winner. Story 18. None, in my opinion. A degree leads to higher pay and more job opportunities. It does not really matter which one. Story 19. In cinema and film, production companies never asked whether I had a film degree. They do care if you attended the University of Southern California or the University of California, Los Angeles, but they have never asked about formal credentials. Story 20. I am not a nurse. I earn almost $100,000 per year with an associate degree in a southern state. It is hard and sometimes traumatic, but I will never regret the financial and time investment I made. Story 21. Just about everything has value if you are passionate and good at it. I met a man studying fine art in graduate school. He helped me on a computer science game development project by doing the art, but he hated it. He now does medical illustrations for equipment and apparently records the music his company uses for training videos. History, women's studies, English, and psychology all seem oversaturated. But there is a time and place for each. You run into trouble with fields like homeopathy and naturopathy. In places where politics interferes with education, even degrees such as biology, medicine, or history can be essentially worthless. In those cases, you may be worse off getting the degree than doing nothing. The same can be true of economics and business, although usually for different but related reasons. Sometimes wealthy donors fund programs that reflect their own interests, and those programs can resemble a model one step removed from a mob boss. Story 22. Anything that makes it nearly impossible to repay the loans you took out for it. Story 23. Avoid majors where you cannot justify the cost of tuition and loans based on the salary you can expect from the jobs they lead to. This applies to both college and trade school. Examples of majors that often do not justify high debt: philosophy, social work, general studies, cultural studies. Majors that are usually worth taking on loans for include medicine and physician assistant programs, nursing, speech-language pathology, medical imaging and radiologic technology, physical therapy, business, computer science, information technology, and actuarial science, teaching and education, mathematics, the sciences and engineering, law enforcement, skilled trades such as plumbing, heating, and electrical work, and other skilled trades. Choose majors that lead to jobs able to repay loans and support a comfortable life. If you plan to take on $70,000 to $150,000 in debt, pursue a career that reflects that investment. If the best job you can get is an administrative assistant, the investment was likely not worth it. Story 24. Every degree shows you can accomplish tasks, read and follow instructions, and have basic education. A degree gives you more opportunity than having none. The only thing better than a college degree is practical experience, such as an apprenticeship, work experience, trade school, or projects you have completed. Employers do not want to hire someone with no skills, experience, or education. Even for manual labor, you must demonstrate competency by following instructions and completing assigned tasks. Would you hire someone with no experience? If you needed your car fixed, you would want someone who knows what they are doing. Story 25. More than most people think, approximately 1/3 of college graduates are underemployed. They are working in jobs that do not require a college degree. Story 26. Most of them are good choices, honestly, if we are talking about having a high probability of getting a well-paying job after graduation. The better question is which ones are not. Examples include engineering, architecture, computer science, nursing, half of business degrees including finance, accounting, supply chain, human resources, and business analytics, and law or medicine pursued after undergraduate study. I have a low opinion of the others unless someone can tell me otherwise. Story 27. Almost none. The vast majority of people who attend college earn more over their lifetimes as a result of their education. The biggest risk is dying shortly afterward, within a few years, from cancer or an accident, which prevents them from recouping that investment. Story 28. Art appreciation is not the same as art creation. Art criticism is not a high-demand field, and you are not taught how to create art, only how to appreciate it. Story 29. Whether a degree is a waste depends on your definition of waste. To someone who earns a degree in French literature, it may seem like a great degree. Even if they struggle financially, they may not consider it a waste. If you mean financial waste, any degree can be a waste if it is not used properly. For example, I Know an acquaintance who went all the way through law school to become a criminal defense attorney. In his first case, the defendant threatened him, saying he would kill him and his family if he was not acquitted. He left the field, worked in tech support for about $12 an hour at the time, and never returned to law. Story 30. Avoid fields on the job market that are not in high demand. If you need advice on what to major in, focus on your personal interests and choose something that will reliably make you a lot of money. When I took courses, I was interested in short fiction writing, literature, visual thinking, and art. Whenever I struggled with the workload, the only thought I had was, what am I doing taking these classes? I could take those interest classes cheaply at community colleges. In university, when you are paying a large portion of your savings and what remains of your checking account, take the courses that will give you the skills you need for the job you want. Take the hard ones, work at them, do not give in to watching television, and your struggles will pay off. Choose based on your strengths. For example, I struggle with math and science, so I am trying to go to law school. I majored in political science and regretted it. Consider legal studies or another major that could potentially lead to a job after your bachelor's degree. Any major can qualify you for law school. Your grade point average and law school admission test score are what matter. If you can handle numbers and chemistry, major in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. If you are familiar with coding, programming, or anything digital, study computer science and pursue cybersecurity or a role at a technology company. College can wait. Learn what you want to do first, then go to college. If you qualify for the free application for federal student aid, do not go to college undecided. If the government is going to pay for your schooling, know what you want to do before committing. Good luck. Story 31. It's a trade-off. You can earn a degree in something you enjoy that has low demand or low pay, or choose a degree in a high-demand, high-paying field that may not interest you. Find the sweet spot. Story 32. Honestly, this is hard to answer. If you mean degrees in general, most are useful because some companies prefer applicants with degrees over those without. A degree does not always matter. At my company, we hired someone with 1 year of experience and a degree in religious studies. She was chosen over someone who had 4 years of experience because she had a degree. We do project management for a commercial flooring company. Story 33. None of them. Employers want to know that you can stay with something for years. Story 34. The undergraduate ones without graduate degrees. Story 35. I went to a local community technical college, earned an associate's degree in web and software development, found an internship, and was hired. I have been at my current job for over 4 years, and I only spent about $15,000 total on my degree. I work above some people who spent 5 times as much on their degrees. All it needs to do is teach the basics and get you in the door. Anything more than that is a waste of time and money. Story 36. A degree from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology or Harvard University will help you along the way. Story 37. Those from colleges that advertise on daytime television. Story 38. I have a degree in art history. My first job out of college was as an investment banking analyst at a premier investment bank, which had nothing to do with my degree. The managing director for my group collected art, so having someone he could talk to about it probably helped and led to better assignments. The only bad degree, in my view, is one that pigeonholes you into work you cannot do. People often forget that college is a qualifier. Because of where I went to college, there was and is an assumption that I am smart. That is enough. The degree is immaterial. Story 39. Any degree from a diploma mill or an unaccredited university. Story 40. Years ago, when my brother graduated from university, a man had earned a doctor of philosophy after 12 years of study. I am not sure if that degree would help today, but he probably found a job, although I have no idea what it was. Story 41. None if someone enjoyed the experience. All of them if you are only counting return on investment. Story 42. There is no such thing as if. It is a subject that you really love. You devote your time to networking and preparing a career path for graduation. You keep your college costs manageable. The world of people in their 40s and 50s is littered with individuals who majored in something to get a job and absolutely hated it. Story 43. The exceptions are programs that college athletes cheat their way through and degrees from diploma mills rather than real universities. Almost no college degree is completely worthless when the student sincerely tries to learn and the institution genuinely attempts to teach. Becoming more educated is almost always beneficial. Even if you never use what you learn, the act of learning helps your brain. Degrees become worthless when the student has no desire to learn and cheats to obtain credentials, or when the institution is a diploma mill that only sells degrees. Some people obtain advanced degrees in science to misrepresent the field for profit or to support a belief. They value the degree because it allows them to present themselves as a doctor or claim a master's degree in biology or something similar. Those who profit from such deception may find the degree worthwhile. Story 44. None, in my opinion. Just having a degree, any degree, can open previously closed doors. For example, it does not matter what degree you have, as long as you have one and can become an officer in the military. I use this solely to illustrate the value of even the most seemingly worthless degree. I am not suggesting anyone pursue that path. Therefore, I argue there is no waste of money involved, only a lack of imagination. Story 45. First, online degrees from degree mill colleges. Second, majors that are opinion-based or better suited as minors. Examples include hospitality and tourism, which are not strong choices for a major but offer valuable classes, or a minor. Gender studies is a classic example. A few classes can be eye-opening and help people understand the challenges others face. It opened my eyes to realize that regardless of race, gender, or whether someone is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer, almost everyone in the United States is better off than more than 50% of the world's population. Story 46. It's either all of them or none of them. I don't think people realize that 100 and 200 level classes are equivalent to high school, assuming you are independent and literate. The skills you gain from critically analyzing feminist writing can be applied to scrutinizing contract provisions, which is better than not going to college at all. A college degree is a sheepskin. We have contorted what college should be, essentially high school, and attached a personal price tag. That skews the original mission and degrades the current purpose. Unfortunately, return on investment is the guiding force. The push toward the trades will only depress wages. Story 47. Number 1. Avoid programs that do not offer a direct career path you plan to pursue. A bachelor's degree in psychology, for example, is not useful unless you intend to attend graduate school and pursue a specific job. Number 2. Do the math. Look at the expected mean salary in your area for the job you want. Your degree should not cost more than 1 to 2 times that annual salary at most. Story 48. A lot of people criticize Dave Ramsey, but here is my favorite quote from him. Don't spend $450,000 getting a degree in something that makes you $50,000 a year. You will be in debt the rest of your life. Common sense, but some students transfer from school to school and play around. Just going to college because everyone else is doing it is a mistake. Impulsive degrees with a pointless end goal or lack of one are a huge financial mistake. It is one of the biggest decisions a young adult will make. Story 49. I have found that undergraduate degrees from many top institutions put a target on your back. Everything you do and think invites comments like, "Oh, Mr. Harvard or Mr. Stanford or Mr. Yale screwed that up. How about that?" I have gone out into the world and found that many people from these schools hold fairly ordinary middle-class jobs. They do not automatically get into skull and bones and disappear from the realm of plebeians. Some do, of course, but you could probably have predicted that on the first day of freshman orientation. I think many go in expecting it to be a ladder to unseen heights, but that is not necessarily the case. Story 50. I have a general associate's degree and I feel like it is useless. It seems like jobs want more than that, but I cannot afford further education and I do not want to take out a loan if I do not have to. Story 51. If you do not go into much debt and take interesting courses, I do not think any of them are a waste of money. I learned more about critical thinking, the world, and how to live in it during my years at university, regardless of whether those years benefited me financially. Story 52. I served on the hiring committee at my workplace. I rarely paid attention to the degree candidates held. I mostly noted the school to see if I could make connections. Most degrees are of limited value if you attend school only to obtain the credential and do not learn how to network, communicate, and handle difficult personalities. I have interviewed many accounting and business majors who cannot get past the phrase, "How are you?" Story 53. I know people who majored in desirable technical fields and could not find a job because their grades were poor. I also know people who majored in seemingly useless humanities subjects who are doing well. More important than grades or the degree is what else you do in college. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Earn very high grades and secure internships. Humanities. Earn high grades, volunteer, and pursue other outside-the-box activities. You will do well if you follow those approaches. Story 54. No college degree is 100% a waste of time. Many jobs require a bachelor's degree. They do not care what you studied. Story 55. Unless you are pursuing a finance degree or a related field, you only need the certificate that shows you completed your studies. After that, the bigger decision is whether to pursue a postgraduate degree. That is a much more focused and expensive choice. Story 56. Sometimes you just need a check in the box and any four-year degree will do. Law schools care about your undergraduate GPA but not your major. Military commissioning programs similarly do not care about your major, and they often do not consider GPA. Story 57. You can turn any degree into a career, even if it is completely different from your field of study. I once worked with a director of information technology who had an English degree. They would not have had the job without it. You learn much more in college than just your chosen field. The mathematics, humanities, art, communication, and social skills you develop will still serve you. Story 58. Those from non-accredited colleges, usually religious ones. Story 59. They teach you how to think, not what to think. Story 60. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts and a Master of Fine Arts in acting. I work about half the year as an actor, but none of that work comes from anything related to either degree. Story 61. About 80% of the developers at my company do not have degrees. During interviews, they demonstrated the skills we valued more than a degree for your information. Story 62. I cannot imagine bothering to get a political science degree anymore. Apparently, you do not even need to know the law or the Constitution to be a judge. Just vibes and feels. Story 63. The only degree that is a waste of money is the degree you do not finish. Assuming it is from an accredited school, a diploma outweighs some college every day. Story 64. This is a passion, and rightly so. But what is needed for your passion? This is already in your soul, not just your way of life. Get real. Be honest with yourself. Story 65. Constitutional law. After all that time, effort, and legal reasoning, it turns out you just do whatever the president wants. Story 66. I saw people spend $100,000 on a degree they never used. It hurt to watch. Story 67. The dancers at the local nudie bar all say they have a fine arts degree, whatever that is. Story 68. Every one of them. Have you not seen how much administrative overhead has increased? It is a scam in every sense. Story 69. Criminal justice degrees often lead to a narrow set of career options that are difficult to enter, and many jobs in the field do not require a degree. If you graduate with a criminal justice degree but are not selected for law enforcement, fail the academy, or receive a felony or domestic violence charge, your four-year degree may become little more than a piece of paper. Story 70. My brother-in-law earned a degree in geography. He now works as an ultrasound technician. Story 71. I am 25 and I graduated with a degree in computer science last May. I have been applying for jobs daily for 1 year and 4 months and am beginning to worry that it was a waste of time and money. I am now working at Domino's Pizza as a delivery driver. Story 72. Most college degrees are not a waste of money. Many people view university as a vocational school, but it serves a broader purpose. A degree in the arts can be among the most useful and versatile, and any degree is usually better than none. Doctor of Philosophy degrees are often not worth the cost if you do not intend to pursue an academic career. If you have already completed one and are having difficulty finding work, consider removing it from your resume when applying for non-research positions and try again. There is often bias against applicants with Doctor of Philosophy degrees for non-research roles because employers may see them as overqualified or a poor fit. There are exceptions. Some holders of Doctor of Philosophy degrees find commercial roles, such as physicists who move into financial analysis, but these cases are relatively rare. Story 73. If your degree does not provide technical skills and you plan to teach, you need a Doctor of Philosophy. Tell people that and get it over with. Story 74. There is no such thing as a 100% waste of money. If you enroll in university in a program that seems pointless, you might meet wealthy people who are doing it for fun, and having that connection could set you up for life. For example, I studied a very difficult engineering program, but I did not feel the work was something I could excel in, so I transitioned into information technology where my background is very useful. Many people in my current workplace now have similar experience. Story 75. A college degree should be more than a financial investment. No degree is a 100% waste of money. Story 76. No degree is worthless, but some degrees are more employable. A college education is not and should not be only about employment. There is value in an engineer knowing who Cato or Alexis de Tocqueville was, and in a marketing major understanding basic physics. Story 77. Honestly, none. They can practically guarantee you hundreds of thousands more than just a high school diploma. I did read the uselessness of Ivy League schools for those without networks. Once you graduate, you need to move in Harvard's or Yale's circles or else you're screwed. Story 78. I think degrees that require some interpretation to get a good job should be approached with caution. I am not saying such degrees are useless, but some employers will value a degree in one field over another. Fair or not, we must dispel the notion that all degrees are seen as equal. Does the degree have a direct path from study to work? If it does, for example, I major in accounting, I will become an accountant. Those degrees are generally easier to parlay into a good job than I majored in English and I am a good writer. If you graduate with a degree in history and do not want to become a history teacher, what does that degree translate to job-wise? People will say history majors are good at research and writing, but are there jobs that require only a history degree and those skills? You sometimes hear stories like, I majored in psychology and now work as a programmer at Company X. I am not saying that cannot happen, but how did you go from a psychology degree to programming? Were you hired based on the degree alone? Did you return to school, or did a friend help you get the starting job and you worked your way up? Overall, be cautious when you hear highlights such as, I majored in philosophy and now work as head of human resources at Company X, because people rarely explain the details. You just hear the highlights and assume that any degree will lead directly to any job. Story 79. My art degree, Bachelor of Arts, has done absolutely zero to help me land a higher paying job. I learned a lot about my craft and would not trade it for anything. Story 80. Many jobs prefer candidates with a degree and do not care what it is. Story 81. I have never heard of a political scientist, yet I know many people who are in debt because of political science degrees. Story 82. I do not think any specific degree is a complete waste of money. Most white-collar jobs I have worked required at least a 4-year degree, so there is some benefit to having a degree in many cases. If you want to work in a field regardless of pay, it is hard to say the degree is entirely a waste. It is more about the actual cost and what you want to get from it. If you want the monetary returns to outweigh your investment in tuition, then you can see why some degrees might be a poor financial choice for you. I have a degree in marketing, and for me it was mostly a waste of money. Many employers treat the marketing department as the red-headed stepchild of the company. Pay is low because they often let anyone do the job. I had bosses without college degrees, some with degrees in English, and one with a degree in European history. They think anyone can do the job. Many people can handle the basics, but few know how to run a top-notch marketing department and make the company money. As a result, the supply of workers exceeds demand, and companies will underpay and mistreat you. Thankfully, I had a minor in applied mathematics and left marketing altogether. Story 83. None of them are 100% a waste. Education is inherently valuable, especially the general education courses in the first years of college. Story 84. Anything that leads to a job where you can't afford to move out of your parents' basement. Story 85. Women's studies, gender and sexuality studies, and related fields. Extremely niche history degrees. Story 86. Extremely sorry if this is offensive, but artificial intelligence coding or an artificial intelligence course that spans 3 years, if I am not wrong. I genuinely question my former schoolmates' choices. In my school group, I am the most studious. The rest range from good to poor in terms of grades and effort. Even I, who took only science, think that is a reason not to choose a combined science and mathematics stream. My aim is to become a doctor, while other students, influenced by their parents, choose science plus mathematics as a backup for more career options. The cost is their sanity over 2 years of senior high school. Then they do not go into engineering or medicine. Instead, they choose artificial intelligence coding as a backup to their backup. I am sorry if I sound angry, but this seems like doing something without taking time to think it through. Be responsible. Fight for what you like, even if it goes against pressure from your parents. Story 87. I have a degree in computer information systems, and I do not know what jobs I can get that are not help desk positions. Story 88. I had a professor who spent an entire lecture explaining that a college degree, unless it is specialized, primarily means you are willing to put in the work and can be trained. Story 89. Trades. The schools with the highest rates of student loan default are almost all cosmetology schools, such as beauty and barber schools. A few are carpentry or general trade schools. Scroll down to the section titled by school. Story 90. College is as much about internships and the college experience as it is about the degree. No accredited institution is a complete waste of money unless you do not take advantage of those opportunities. Story 91. Any degree that puts you into debt you cannot pay off in 2 to 5 years is not worth it. I have been in higher education for almost 20 years. Story 92. A degree after which you know no more when you graduate than when you enrolled. Story 93. Any degree that will only land you a job as a teacher or professor in that profession. I have a friend who is paying $80,000 per year just to become a history professor. Story 94. A degree from a poorly ranked school is probably a waste. A degree from a school ranked in the top 50 by U.S. News and World Report is worth it. Story 95. All degrees have value, although some have less practical value than others. Programs whose titles end with the word studies are generally not worth investing thousands of dollars in. These degrees tend to be too broad and do not provide a specific area of expertise. Story 96. Criminal justice. Source: an undergraduate student. Story 97. Someone can correct me on this, but in the field of communications I have met many people with a degree who, mostly working in hospitality, cannot explain what it actually is. I always joke that they must be good at communicating. Story 98. Business administration is one of the most useless degrees I have seen. I expect students to tell me how tough it is. Story 99. 100%. It should not take you 4 years to learn the theory required to become an accountant. Story 100. A degree in business administration is too general to make a candidate stand out. It is mainly useful for positions that only require a degree, regardless of field. Story 101. Gender studies does not qualify you for anything, and companies actively avoid people with that degree because they are 10 times more likely to be a human resources nightmare. Story 102. Based on my limited knowledge of Master of Business Administration programs, here are my observations about who gets this degree. 1. Unless you are pursuing a doctorate or working in a field heavy in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, graduate schools are significantly easier to get into than undergraduate programs. Master of Business Administration programs can feel more accessible than other graduate degrees. The primary requirement often appears to be prior work experience. 2. Master of Business Administration programs are a collection of management and business courses. They cover a broad range of topics, so graduates tend to be generalists in business. 3. Many people with a Master of Business Administration go into middle management. Some attain chief-level executive positions, but a large number remain in middle management. No disrespect to Master of Business Administration students, but as someone with a Master of Accounting who was required to take 2 Master of Business Administration classes, the degree can sometimes feel like a lesser credential. Clarification. If you earned a Master of Business Administration from Harvard or the University of Pennsylvania, you attended a top-tier program that opens many doors. I am referring to the typical average state school where most students obtain the degree. I attended an average state school known for its Master of Accounting program, but not for its Master of Business Administration program. Story 103. Dance Studies, Gay and Lesbian Studies, and Queer Theory. Story 104. Art. Don't ask how I know. It's the vaguest degree you can get. It literally does nothing except show that you were alive and present. Story 105. I can only think of a handful of career paths where a relevant degree can yield a lucrative salary, including finance, law, medicine, and technology. Outside of those industries, and perhaps a couple of others I have not mentioned, employers generally only want you to have a degree. What the degree is for is irrelevant. Story 106. If you get a degree in a field with little demand, it can be a financial waste of time. I mean financially. For personal enjoyment, such degrees can be worthwhile. For example, if you earn a degree in philosophy and do not plan to pursue law school, graduate school, consulting, or similar careers, and instead expect to make a living solely by reading and writing about philosophical and ethical topics, that may be a poor financial choice. Story 107. Degrees that force you into teaching or into careers in unrelated fields. Story 108. The vast majority of degrees are not useful. Nursing and engineering are exceptions. Business and finance can be valuable if you join a fraternity or sorority and build connections. Any degree can be useful if it allows you to get into medical school. Most other degrees are a waste. Story 109. Any degree that does not lead to a job paying more than $100,000 per year, also known as most degrees. Story 110. No degree is a waste of money. Education is always valuable. Be realistic about what you or your family can afford. Story 111. Music, art, gender studies, and psychology at the graduate level or higher. Story 112. I studied psychology. I went back to school at 30 and earned a second bachelor's degree in computer science. Story 113. None of them is an actual waste of money. No learning or education is a waste. However, many degrees are primarily prerequisite degrees that by themselves get you nowhere in the real world but are used to get you into an advanced degree that will. For example, programs that are pre-law, pre-med, or similar. Real-life example. I had a guy who worked for me when I was a kitchen manager at a comedy club in the 1990s. He had a 4-year philosophy degree with a business minor. He was 23 and was becoming bitter because, as a young 20-something with no employment experience beyond working at a comedy club as a ticket taker, cook, and dishwasher, he was applying for middle management positions at multinational billion-dollar companies, positions that required 10 to 15 years of experience in that field. I explained to him that his degree qualified him to do specific things. Go back to university as a professor or teaching assistant to teach philosophy. Go back to school to get a law degree, a communications degree, or a teaching credential. Get an entry-level office or administrative job in a business, because with a business minor that is where you would start, or be unemployed and sit in coffee shops discussing philosophy, or wash dishes in my kitchen. Story 114. Bachelor of Arts degrees are useful across the board, unless you can enter the specific profession directly. Story 115. Any journalism program that focuses on writing and does not include topic-specific education. Story 116. Master's degrees in fields that do not require them, such as painting. The same applies to Doctor of Philosophy degrees. Story 117. History. The plan was to be a teacher, but it was 2005 and the job market was poor. I did not want to move out of state to work, so I finished with just a Bachelor of Arts in History. I thought I would go back for a master's degree or attend law school, but I never did, and the degree has not been used. I now work in medical billing. Story 118. Honestly, a degree is only a waste if you do not use it. I do not think any degree is wasted if you use it. For me, my degree in photography was a waste because I have never used it and probably never will. A friend of mine has a similar degree, and the career she built around it is going well. Story 119. A degree earned without a clear plan for how to use it in a career. Story 120. 80% of opportunities go to those who are well connected unless you are not a Nepo baby. After all these years, I realize it is all about who you know. Story 121. If you went into more debt than you will make back in a year, it is a waste. If you later make enough to pay it off in 5 years and earn an above-average salary, you either got lucky or knew your trajectory better than most. Story 122. Most do not lead to professional licensure. There are exceptions, but it is a good rule of thumb. Story 123. I suppose a useless degree is any degree in a field that is oversaturated in the job market. Story 124. Degrees that are narrowly targeted to a specific job with no career mobility. Story 125. At least 75% of them, and possibly more, depending on how much you spent to get it. Story 126. Try all of them if you cannot figure out how to make it work for you. You still have to market yourself and be someone people want to hire. Story 127. At this point, it is becoming clear that there are too many. When computer science degrees have the highest unemployment rates, things are not looking great. Story 128. Humanities. Story 129. In this economy, most employers will not hire you unless you already have a decade of relevant experience, 3,000 certifications, and are willing to work for minimum wage. Story 130. Some surveys suggest that nearly 70% of people who earn a degree end up working in a different field. If you choose your major based on potential earnings, you have worse than coin toss odds that it will be a waste of both time and money. If you are pursuing higher education, focus first on whether the field interests you or is fulfilling to study. That way, even if you work in a different field, you will not have wasted the time you spent studying it. Story 131. I think it would be easier to ask which degrees are not a waste of money. It's a much shorter list. Story 132. Most humanities and arts programs are a waste of money. In 2010 to 2011, radio interviews regularly featured culinary and art history majors complaining that no one valued their degree. That was ironic because we had told our friends the same thing before they pursued those degrees. Story 133. Vocational programs, such as business, computer-related fields, and sports management, should be pursued at trade or professional schools. Stop encouraging universities to sponsor these non-academic disciplines. Story 134. Since COVID, unemployment among university graduates has risen sharply. The unemployment rate for college graduates is now similar to the national average. The days when a degree reliably led to gainful employment are over, especially given the increasingly high cost of university. Degrees outside of law or medicine are often not worth the cost. Story 135. Most of them because they shouldn't cost as much as they do. Story 136. My father, a baby boomer, has often told me that a degree in underwater basket weaving is a waste. Story 137. People say that gender studies is useless, but I went through a transgender awakening and wanted to study gender so I could write books and give technology, entertainment, design talks about gender and sexuality. I could have become a professor or a credible researcher in sexuality whose work is cited by politicians to advance the rights of gay and transgender people. I do not think it is a waste of time or money if you know what you are doing. Story 138. You are being trained to take on debt to get a job, to service that debt, and to work your entire life to make someone else money. A person can be quite successful in this country, making their way with a business of their own if they have the desire. Story 139. College is, for the most part, a scam and functions as an expensive aptitude test for employers. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.